"You're just dead weight." My father didn't scream it. He said it between bites of steak, as casually as someone might comment on the weather. My mother didn't look up from her plate. My brothers snickered. And me? I froze. The dining room, cold and over-decorated, suddenly felt suffocating. I had heard worse things from him growing up, but this was different. This wasn't rage. This was dismissal. Quiet. Calculated. I swallowed my pride along with the bitterness rising in my throat. I didn't say a word. I didn't cry. I just watched as they continued their dinner like I didn't exist. But something inside me shifted, snapped. This wasn't weakness. It was the end of tolerance. The moment I stopped wishing for his approval and started planning something he'd never expect. Since Mom died, the house had become a battleground. Dad took control, and I, his eldest daughter, the one he always said wasn't smart enough or strong enough, was reduced to the family shadow. Every day, I played maid, nurse, chauffeur, and yet I was treated like a ghost. That dinner table was the scene of years of condescension, disrespect, and manipulation. And tonight, he made it official. I wasn't family. I was a burden. He thought that would break me. He had no idea what I was holding in silence. And by the time the sun rose, everything would be different. I stayed quiet through dessert, listened to them joke about the stock market and laugh at things I didn't understand, because no one ever taught me. I was too busy cleaning up after them, too busy being invisible. Even when I got good grades, it wasn't enough. Even when I got a part-time job, he called it useless. Every effort I made to stand out was flattened under his thumb. The words "dead weight" hit me harder than any slap could have, because they weren't just mean, they were final. He had no use for me, and I knew deep down that he never did. I looked at my reflection in the dining room mirror across the table. I didn't see someone weak. I saw someone patient, someone tired, but someone ready. He thought I'd run to my room, crying. Instead, I smiled. I went upstairs without a word. Behind my locked door, I pulled out the dusty file my mother had given me a week before she passed. She had called me into her room, frail and pale, barely able to speak. Her fingers trembled as she handed me the folder and whispered, "If he ever forgets who you are, you remember." Inside, property deeds, notarized letters, and a final will, one that no one else knew about. The house was mine, legally, irrevocably. I spent months verifying everything. Hired a lawyer, met with a private notary. All confirmed. My mother had left the house in my name. She didn't trust him. She knew what he was capable of. And she gave me the only weapon I would ever need, control. I never told them. I waited. Waited for the moment they'd push me far enough to use it. And that moment came at dinner, when my father told me, without blinking, that I was nothing. I stared at the file again. Read every page like it was the first time. There was no loophole, no technicality. It was airtight. The documents even included a clause about immediate transfer of authority, should anything happen to her. The house had been mine for almost a year, and they didn't even know. I remembered Mom's voice, weak but firm. "You're not like them, and that's why I trust you." I called a real estate agent that night, at 2 a.m. He was hesitant, but I was firm. I sent the documents over. The next morning, he had a buyer. It wasn't about money. It was about liberation. I wasn't staying a second longer in that house. I wasn't going to sleep another night under that roof, pretending I didn't exist. By 11 a.m., the funds were wired. By noon, the deal was signed. I stood by my window, watching the street below. People walking their dogs. Cars passing by. None of them had any idea that something massive had just shifted in this house. The house wasn't theirs anymore. It was mine, and I had sold it. At 7 a.m., my father banged on my bedroom door. "You're making breakfast today. Get up." I obeyed. One last act. I went downstairs, made pancakes, served coffee, poured orange juice. No one said thank you. They talked about stock markets, vacations, parties. I nodded, silently checking my phone. The buyer had arrived. Paperwork confirmed. Closing in 24 hours. I excused myself after breakfast and walked out to the patio. Took a deep breath. came back inside, holding a thick envelope. I placed it gently on the table. My dad looked up, irritated. "What's this?" "The deed and the sale contract. This house is no longer yours." He laughed. So did my brothers. But when I pulled up the email from the buyer's lawyer and played the voicemail confirming transfer of ownership, everything stopped. His face drained of color. No, that's not possible. It's done. You can't do this." "I already did. Legally, this house was mine. Mom left it to me. You didn't even know, did you?" He stood, knocking over his chair. "You little." "Careful," I said, eyes locked on his. "New owners arrive tomorrow. You have 48 hours to leave." He reached for the envelope, hands shaking. My brothers stared, dumbfounded. My mother, quiet as always, finally spoke. "Is this true?" I turned to her. "It's all in the will. Mom protected me before she died. She knew what you all would do, so she gave me a way out." They didn't say a word, just sat there, stunned. It was the first time I'd ever seen my father truly speechless. The man who always had something cruel to say had nothing left. I packed a small bag. Nothing dramatic, just the essentials. I didn't need the furniture, the memories, or the guilt. I needed peace. The rest of the day was chaos. Lawyers called. Dad screamed at his phone. My brothers begged me to reverse it, promised they'd treat me better, said they were just following his lead. But it was too late. The money was transferred. The deal closed. The house, the one that made me feel small, invisible, useless, was finally my ticket to freedom. At sunset, I stood at the top of the stairs, looking down at them. The same people who called me weak, now scrambling, desperate. My father approached me quietly. "I didn't mean what I said," he whispered. "You're not dead weight." I was angry. I shook my head. "No, you were honest. That's the only honest thing you've said in years. I made mistakes. You made a choice. And so did I." I picked up my backpack, walked out the front door. For the first time ever, I wasn't looking back. Outside, the sky was darkening, streaked with orange and violet. I took one last look at the house. The place where I cried alone for years. Where I was ignored, mocked, belittled. And now it was just a building. I didn't need revenge. I just needed release. And that's exactly what I gave myself. I rented a small apartment in a new city, started fresh, found work, built friendships. And every day I felt lighter. Not because I escaped them, but because I finally chose myself. If you've ever been underestimated, made to feel like a burden, or silenced by people who were supposed to love you, remember this. You are not weak. You are not worthless. And you don't owe anyone your silence. Sometimes the best way to be heard is to let go.